Welcome to Audit Archive, where we run you through some of the most questionable and rather atrocious police encounters. Today, we're looking at two of the most outrageous cases where officers use a ridiculous amount of force without a reason at all. Both incidents have resulted in lawsuits, with one settling for a whopping $20 million. On November 20th, 2022, an officer with the Marion Police Department observed a black vehicle driving in a reckless manner and immediately pursued it with lights and sirens on. Soon after, the driver pulled over at a gas station, and the officer hopped out of her patrol vehicle to go speak with them. But as the officer approached the vehicle, the driver quickly sped off in an attempt to escape. Naturally, the officer informed dispatch about the situation and chased after the wanted vehicle. As we watch the body cam footage, note the license plate number and overall appearance of the black vehicle as it comes into play soon after.
Got one running from his central.
On foot?
Negative, down gobble.
You get your tag, right?
Still going down gobble. You crossed over gobble. I've lost him, but
That part of it.
headed back to 76. Gonna be on Dunlop. Took a ride on 76.
How fast you going?
Got up to 80. I'm at 60 now.
Stop.
Turn on Southwood for Cucci. Baker. Coming to a stop. Between Baker and Owens.
What you say? She on video.
Hands out the window! Both hands! You got anybody in there with you? Anybody with you? Take your right hand, open the door. I'm exiting one out the vehicle. Get on the ground! On the ground! On the ground!
As seen in the footage, the officer first informed dispatch that she had lost visual of the wanted vehicle. A few seconds later, she gave dispatch an update, stating that the wanted vehicle had made a turn and was now in sight again. For some reason, the driver appeared to pull over again, which is rather unexpected considering that they had just evaded the police. Regardless, the officer responded aggressively, exiting her patrol vehicle with her firearm drawn and ordering the driver to raise their hands and exit the vehicle, before ordering them to get on the ground. Before we find out how this traffic stop immediately turned ridiculous, let's find out whether the officer had the right to draw her firearm at the suspect. It's widely understood that there are no rules regarding when an officer can draw his or her gun on a suspect. The general rule of thumb is that officers can draw their guns using their own discretion. Essentially, it is up to each officer as to when to unholster their firearm and in what situations they would do so. Judging by this, it could be said that the officer was justified in holding the driver at gunpoint, considering she wouldn't know whether the driver was armed or not at that point. But this is where we realize why this traffic stop immediately became unjustified and rather unlawful.
What's the cushion?
On the ground.
You're doing that right now.
Did you just run from me?
Copy.
So okay? Alright, put your hands behind your back.
First and foremost, let's compare the license plates from the first traffic stop with the current one. As you can see, both plates are distinctively different from one another, and we all know what this means. Even though both vehicles are coincidentally identical, though not entirely, the officer had pulled over the wrong vehicle. This meant that the driver, namely David Wiggins, was now being wrongfully detained. It was later reported that Mr. Wiggins had just left a Burger King when he saw the flashing lights and pulled over right away. He was essentially held at gunpoint for no reason, without doing anything remotely illegal. Mr. Wiggins, who was evidently confused, asked what he had done wrong and made it clear that he didn't run away from anyone. Watch as it becomes evident that the officer herself was unsure whether she had the right suspect or not, likely because she asked Mr. Wiggins multiple times whether he ran from her.
No.
Can I ask you what I did?
Did you run from me?
Copy.
Alright, stay right here. Since you give me that tag.
Looks like a 2016 Dodge Challenger, last name Green. It's not a hammer. It's clear.
What was the tag I gave you?
Victor X-ray uniform 658.
Yes, sir.
This ain't even him. But they got almost the identical tag.
You were chasing a blacked out short Challenger?
Look just like this. Yeah, you good. Look. Did someone go past you in the same car as you?
I didn't. I wasn't. I didn't.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine. No. Hey, you can plow me. You good?
What's the last place you saw him?
He literally had to go around him because the guy off the this road, a car just like this, came
As we've just seen, after confirming the license plate number with dispatch, the officer quickly realized that she had the wrong man in custody. But the worst part was how lightly she treated the aftermath, laughing and joking around, asking Mr. Wiggins whether it was scary. She then brushed it off with a quick apology and walked away.
right here. You're good. That's scary. Look, I'm sorry. You got almost the same tag, same car. He must have passed you going through, and you turned off this one.
Yeah, it must have happened. We had everybody coming to do.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah.
All right. You have a good one, okay? I'm sorry about that.
After almost 8 months since the unlawful detainment occurred, in July 2023, Mr. Wiggins filed a lawsuit against the Marion Police Department alleging civil assault, battery, negligence, and false imprisonment during the traffic stop. Mr. Wiggins' attorney filed the suit against the city of Marion, claiming the traffic stop was a distressing incident involving mistaken identity and excessive use of force. He added that, despite an apology, he was detained and he was brought to gunpoint due to nothing that he did. It was mistaken identity, and it was something that was a traumatic experience for him, and he's been dealing with it. This was in November, and he is still in therapy dealing with it. In response, the City of Marion released the following statement through their attorney. The City of Marion is sorry the incident with Mr. Wiggins ever occurred. Now that a lawsuit has been filed, the city will withhold further comment and rely on the judicial system to work things out in a fair and just manner for everyone involved. On April 12, 2020, officers from the Yuba City Police Department responded to a slow-speed collision outside a hospital. Involved in the collision was 65-year-old Army veteran Gregory Gross, who was accused of driving under the influence and placed in handcuffs while the officers continued their investigation. They suspected Mr. Gross of causing the accident and informed him that he was detained for that very reason. Soon enough, a sudden and terrible turn of events resulted in Mr. Gross being thrown to the ground and subsequently paralyzed due to the excessive use of force against him, even though he was in handcuffs and did nothing to provoke aggression. Watch as the encounter unfolds and ends up in a huge settlement.
Oh my God. Yeah, kind of a bad day.
Come on.
Okay. What are you doing, dude?
Sit down on the ground, and I'll bring a car.
I didn't do
over.
nothing. Oh, no! Quit my arm. I didn't do nothing.
You can start going with the program.
Ouch! That hurts. Quit it. That hurts,
It's
dude.
called pain compliance.
That
When
hurts,
you
dude.
stop resisting,
Ow! I'm not resisting. Why are you doing this?
Because you're just not going with the program.
I am. Quit hurting me. You're hurting me right now.
Not
You're
hurting
hurting me, dude. You're hurting me. That hurts. That hurts. That hurts, man. Jake,
Mr.
it hurts.
Gross, listen to me.
Quit with me.
I'm not with you.
Yeah, you are.
I'm telling you the way this is going to go. Would you like to shut your mouth and listen?
you are not in control of the situation.
You are under arrest for hit and run and DUI. You're about to get placed into a patrol car. I was going to walk you over there, but you decided you didn't want to go with the program. So now you're sitting here like a 3-year-old.
Ow, that hurts.
Okay? So, listen. And it'll continue to hurt if you don't shut up and listen. In a moment, I'm going to stand you up. You can cooperate with that.
Right off the bat, it becomes evident that the cop, namely Officer Josh Jackson, tackled Mr. Gross to the ground without a reason at all. Mr. Gross did not resist, nor did he show any signs of aggression. As a matter of fact, he was being compliant and agreed to move along when asked to do so. Officer Jackson not only physically restrained Mr. Gross using pain compliance techniques, but also violently twisted his arms a few times, which was completely unnecessary. Note that pain compliance techniques can also be described as pain-inducing techniques available to officers to persuade an uncooperative arrestee to comply with their demands. However, in this case, Mr. Gross evidently showed no signs of being uncooperative. In addition, according to the Yuba City Police Department's policy manual, it stated that officers shall use only the amount of force that reasonably appears necessary given the facts and totality of the circumstances known to or perceived by the officer at the time of the event to accomplish a legitimate law enforcement purpose. So by taking this into account, we can confidently conclude that Officer Jackson had violated department policy by bringing a man in handcuffs down to the ground with such force. It's also worth noting that even though Mr. Gross stated numerous times that he was not resisting, Officer Jackson refused to stop using force.
You got anger issues?
No, not at all.
I just asked which way are you going. You slammed me up against the car.
Here, no, grab him. I gotta put gloves on.
Kill Democrat.
And we've done it again. We're going to keep doing this?
I can't breathe.
Are we going to keep doing this?
I can't breathe.
You're talking, you're breathing.
You're talking, you can breathe. Okay, let's stand up. Stand up.
Put on your big boy pants.
on.
You want to act like a man.
Okay, let me out, please. Let me out, please. Yeah.
Stand up.
Stand up. Come on, you're a man. Be a man.
I can't feel my legs.
You can feel your legs.
All right, there's a wheelchair right behind you. You get to sit.
Stand up.
As seen in the footage from the second officer's body cam, Officer Jackson had thrown Mr. Gross back to the ground once again. This time, Mr. Gross was face down to the ground on his stomach, while Officer Jackson had his entire weight on top of him. Officer Jackson proceeded to push Mr. Gross's head down to the ground, to which Mr. Gross complained that he was having trouble breathing. At that point, Mr. Gross claimed that he could not feel his legs anymore. He was unable to stand up by himself and was clearly hurt judging by the tone of his voice. Despite this, Officer Jackson displayed an ignorant manner and stated that he was done with Mr. Gross's silly little games.
I can't feel my legs, dude. I'm sorry. I can't feel my legs. They're gone. They're gone. I can't feel my legs.
Come on. Don't forget your pasta box.
I took my arm, sir.
Mr. Gross, we are done with your silly little games. He was assisted to the ground. No. Yeah, the nose thing just happened in the grass out there.
I can't feel my legs.
Since this encounter happened right outside a hospital, Mr. Gross was taken inside to get his injuries checked out. And as we've just witnessed, Officer Jackson still refused to take the situation seriously as he joked around with the hospital staff upon entering.
You can't feel your legs at all? You feel this? I need you to answer me. Wake up. Do you feel this? No? Feel that? No?
Do we want to just grab his arms and flop him up on the bed and then we can...
One, two.
Yeah.
All right, sit up. We're gonna move those cuffs around. Come on, sit up for me, Mr. Gross. Sit up for me. All right, let's do this. Go right here. I'm gonna pull him just to the side.
Can you unlock it
I'm
and
working.
just do it? Just you are.
We're working on
Is
it.
it okay? I thought you meant you were gonna.
There's a method to my madness.
It's really. I know. I get it. Okay.
Trying to get the cuffs off of you.
Sit up, nice and straight.
As it became more likely that something serious had happened to Mr. Gross due to the ridiculous use of force against him, let's hear what Officer Jackson had to say about the incident.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, it might be some temporary for me landing on him, but when I took him, I had him in an arm bar, and so I swept his feet and tried to get him to land on his knees and then.
Yeah.
So I was on top of him, but his knees hit.
So he didn't like just...
No, I didn't like just plank him out. No, that would be wrong.
Right, yes. Even if he's frustrated.
Yeah. No, I tried to get him on the ground so that we could then just double pick him up and just drag him in.
Yeah, I mean,
But he pulled away, so I. Yeah.
He's doing a good job of it.
Will that work?
Yeah, it didn't show the bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's what.
He didn't quite have a normal reflex either, but he's kind of on drugs.
So I got a supervisor coming down, but aside from that, we'll just.
Yeah.
You guys slammed it around.
I only slammed you on the ground one time, sir, and it was very controlled.
You need to listen to me. I can't talk for myself. I can't breathe my legs.
Do you have insurance at this time?
I have no veterans.
Okay.
I can't really talk. I need help. You gotta help me, please.
Oh no, Eddie.
I can't move my legs. Please help me. Please help me, God.
Hold close
Please
if
help
you
me. I can't move my legs. Please help me.
You just started.
I'm done.
You just started.
I'm out of here.
No, don't move. Don't tell me again you can't move.
I can't.
Mr. Gross, I'm going to explain something to you. We have to take your handcuffs off in order to put you on this bed. Okay, I'm going to take them off.
I can't move, man.
Here, I'll take this off right
feel
now.
right, dude. I don't feel right.
Okay.
That handcuff on my left hand is so tight I can't stand it.
Okay. Relax your
Dude,
arm.
I'm a good guy. Don't do this to me, please.
Okay. Relax. Relax your
I
arm.
love my wife and kids.
Are we going to just pull the blue sheet and slide them over? Or? He says he can't feel his legs.
Yeah, I can't feel my leg, I swear to God.
You need like lift people for this, or?
I swear to God, I can't feel my leg, dude. I cannot.
Okay.
I cannot feel my leg.
Well, we can slide them straight across if that works for you. Then we can use the white sheet to go back, right?
You guys feel like. Oh my God.
All right, we're gonna slide you off. Mr. Gross, listen to me. Listen. We're gonna slide. We're going to slide you over onto this.
I love my kid. I go ahead, man. I can't. I can't feel. Oh my God! I can't feel my legs. What happened to me? Oh my God, dear Lord.
So if you don't mind,
Please, please help me.
Okay, just like
Please
that.
help me, God.
All I need you to do is
Oh my
hold
God.
real still, okay, Mr. Gregory?
Please help me, Lord. Dear God, help me. I'm so bad.
Oh, that's how it works.
As a result of Officer Jackson's brutal actions, Mr. Gross was left with a broken neck, and he underwent 2 surgeries to fuse his spine. He said the officer's use of force left him unable to walk or care for himself, and he now needs round-the-clock nursing care for the rest of his life. Mr. Gross was essentially left paralyzed that day. 2 years after the terrible encounter, in 2022, Mr. Gross filed a civil lawsuit against the Yuba City Police Department. His attorney, Mosley Collins, stated that, "We are not against the police, we are for the police, but we are against police brutality when it occurs." He also added that, the first goal with this lawsuit was to get enough money for him to take care of himself, because he's going to need millions of dollars to take care of himself. Following this, in July 2023, the state finally settled the lawsuit for $20 million, which is among one of the largest police misconduct settlements in California history. The Yuba City Police Department, as part of the settlement, announced changes to the force, including implementing new de-escalation techniques, randomly auditing body cam footage, and reviewing use of force incidents. Meanwhile, Yuba City Police Chief Brian Baker spoke to Mr. Gross at a press conference the same month and stated that, "You've been in my thoughts since this tragedy was brought to my attention, and on April 12, 2020, we missed the mark, and for that, Mr. Gross, I'm sorry." Be sure to check out our previous video where we cover another outrageous police encounter.